Well, Tiffany, thank you so much for being here with me on the Entrepreneurial Success Podcast. I am so chuffed to bits to have you here. You're going to talk about a topic in particular that I think we're both very passionate about. Before we get started with that, why don't you just introduce yourself to the audience and tell us what you do?
Well, thanks so much, Hen. I really appreciate being here. I love talking about women. I am a women's empowerment confidence coach. And just a little bit of background about me. I grew up in a family of very strong, amazing women. As the youngest of four girls, I was shy, I was quiet, and just kind of did what my family told me to do. Go to school, get a great education, get married, live that life. And that's exactly what I did. I went to college, I got a great education, I got at the time what I thought was a great career, I got married, and by the end of it, in the middle of my 30s, I was miserable. I was very unhappy. I was 40 pounds overweight, I was unhealthy, my marriage was emotionally toxic, my corporate career was draining, and I think I just got to a point where I hit a wall and I looked at my life at about 35 years old. And I was like, what is happening to me? Like, how did I get here? How did I allow things to get this bad? And so from that experience of having my spouse put me in a situation where I literally felt unsafe, that's where it hit me. Like, you have got to get out of this. You can no longer live in this situation where you feel like you come home and you walk on eggshells. So the journey started with me first taking control of my weight, making a decision I was going to take control of my health. From there, I actually got into women's figure level bodybuilding, just something that really motivated me and pushed me, which I think in turn, and I tell women, the fitness aspect helped me boost my confidence in myself. Because before I could leave my spouse, I had to build that confidence and belief in me. I had to build up this idea that I was worthy. And so once I got there and everything kind of hit the fan, so to speak, I had the strength to leave. So I got divorced. And from that perspective, I had started a business already and it just kind of flourished. And I made a decision as I was talking to more and more women about my experience. They were like, I am going through the same thing. And so it was so amazing that I was meeting all types of women who were saying they were having my experience, literally, a bad relationship, the toxic, work environment, and all these things combined. And I was like, there's something to this. I feel like I'm being called to speak to women about how to create a life that they love. It took me years to figure it out, but I don't want them to have to take years. I want them to be able to do it in a succinct amount of time. So that's kind of my background story.
Oh my gosh. And I love how you're talking about it, how you completely decided to take control of yourself and your life, but you started with your health in particular. And from there, you just build up on it. And, it starts with that self-confidence. And I talk about self-confidence in particular a lot as well, because I help women with their visibility strategies in order to show up more for their audiences. But the first wall they hit is the confidence in order to do that. And again, it starts with a lot of, beliefs that we have about ourselves. But also it starts with the current situations that we're in, which kind of have developed over the years. And we just feel that this is it now, this is my life, where actually there are so much more outside of that as well. And I think this is where so many women can resonate with your story and just go, yep, that's me. I've been there, or I've seen things like this in particular. And, well done for taking that leap and just going for it and changing your own life. And I think this segues beautifully with what we're going to talk about today. And you want to talk about self-confidence. And because this is what you do, you help women build their self-confidence. So why don't you talk to us about self-confidence? And I think let's start with confidence in mindset, because mindset, as you know, as I know, is key. This is one of the most important aspects to start first. So talk to us a little bit about the confidence in your mindset.
A lot of women, for myself included, it starts with this idea that you believe that you can do whatever it is you want to do. A lot of times when you want to do something, but you tell yourself, well, I'm not good enough, or, maybe something will happen, or, we start to have these limiting beliefs of all the reasons why we can't do it, it starts in the mind. And a lot of times as a coach, when I'm working with my clients one-on-one, I'll ask them the question, why do you feel that way? Why do you believe that? And what will happen, so much from the past will come forward, so much from childhood, so many things that they didn't realize they still had not healed. But it was because they had all these limiting beliefs here and they could not move forward until they got through that. And so whenever I work with a woman, the first thing we talk about is what they believe, because how you were raised, you know, the values that you were taught, that all plays into the belief you have about your abilities and yourself. So when I think about confident mindset, the first thing I think about is self-awareness. Who are you? What do you value most? What brings you joy? What makes you happy? You know, so many times in our society, growing up, we're told in an indirect way who to be, what to think, how to dress, what to believe in. And we grow up, of course, our family having the best intentions with that still here. So when we get to adulthood, that's where we still are. And it's almost like we have a conflict in ourselves. It's like, why is it that I'm believing these things, but there's something in me that doesn't feel right as I continue into my adulthood with these beliefs? And so we have this inner struggle, and we're constantly having that battle. So when I first think about mindset, I believe that you have to have a deep sense of self-awareness, a deep sense of understanding where all of that comes from, so that you can then face it and say, I get it now. Yeah. Now I know why I believe that. And now I know why my world and my life is reflecting the old beliefs that I have.
Yeah.
So that's why I say, if you can tackle mindset first, that's the first step. You got to change what's in here.
Yeah.
First.
Oh my gosh. And I love that, because I have also had a great shift to go through with my mindset when I started my business. And I think the biggest breakthrough I particularly had with my mindset was where I realized my beliefs, my limiting beliefs, were actually stories that was put up on me, or that was told to me. And, you know, it's not because people are doing it intentionally in order to hurt you. It's just those are things that they believe. So as an example, teachers have one way of believing something, so they teach you to believe the same. Your parents have a one way of believing something, your grandparents, your uncles, your family, your friends. And those are all things. So you're like a sponge. So you just basically absorb all these other people's beliefs. And also, if people are saying to you, as an example, I used to work in sales, and people used to tell me, like, maybe sales isn't for you. And I was like, oh, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm not good at selling. And that was a belief I had. So when I started my own business, I had to get over that belief of, hey, I'm actually very good at sales. I know how to sell myself. But because somebody told me that before, that was a mental block. And there are so many things that we go through with a mindset where people are telling you stories and you make it your own. You make that a belief. And that's at the end of the day where your life turns out to be.
It is so true. I had a client recently, and it was so profound, where we were talking about power. What does it mean to be a powerful woman? Mm. And she was like, I want to be a powerful woman. And I said, okay, well, let's talk about what that means. She was like, well, most powerful women I know have bad attitudes. And I was like, so you want to be a powerful woman, but you're saying most women that you know have bad attitudes. So you've created this narrative. Mm-hmm. And somehow we connected to her mother being a powerful woman and had a terrible attitude, you know? Mm-hmm. And so it's like you just said, it's those things that we don't even realize that we have those stories going on still in our mind. It's like, how can you say you want to be something that you don't believe is a positive attribute, you know? So yeah. I absolutely agree in what you're saying. Yeah,
I know. And following up with that then is as soon as you kind of build your confidence in changing your mindset, that obviously leads to confidence in your behavior. And this is the next thing you want to talk to us about, because I think a lot of people go, confidence, yes, okay, I want to have confidence, but I like the fact that you've broken it down. So starting with the mindset, that leads on to the behavior. So you will then have the confidence in your behavior. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. I'm so big on taking action, on going after what it is you want. But again, before you can take any action, you have to get very clear on your goals. You
Mm-hmm.
have to get clear on the map, the direction that you want to go in. That starts in the mind. Once you get clear on it, again, once you clear your mind up and you're very focused on what it is you want, your intentions, where you want to go in this life, then you have to take action. After you kind of push past those beliefs, I tell people nothing happens in a stalemate. Nothing happens when you don't move.
Mm-hmm.
All the work happens when you're in the game. If you're sitting on the sidelines, you can be the most confident in here and still not make a move. That is where true change occurs. And so when I talk about behavior, it's like, well, what's the next step to get you to where you want to go? And it can be a small step. It doesn't have to be, I have to do all these things at once. Don't overwhelm yourself. But what is one simple thing that you can do today to get you closer to where you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I talk about confident behavior, when you step into your own life and you say, you know what, I'm going to do this thing, even if it's just one thing a week. What happens, you do that one thing to get you closer to your goal. And then you say, I did that. Oh my gosh, I did that. That's the beginning of that confidence building up. So you do something else. It's like, I did that and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the momentum. That's where the momentum starts. It starts in the action. I think so many women get afraid because they're like, it's so, this thing that I want is so huge. It's so big. And I say, you're right. But don't try to eat it all. Don't try to eat the whole pie in one day. Just take a little small bite. And then tomorrow another bite. And then tomorrow another bite. Before you know it, it's done. The other thing that I tell women about confident behavior, you've done a lot of confident things in your life. Most people that have lived and have gotten, things in their life, it's because they took action. So look at all the other times in your life that you've displayed confident behavior. Take action. You've done that and you can do this. So it starts, again, it kind of is tied into that belief, getting past those limiting beliefs that you can move forward, you can, accomplish this goal that you want, and then showing that through your behavior, showing that through your action steps, making it a plan to sit down every single day and be dedicated to what it is you want to do and doing it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It ties in so well with what I always tell my clients. And I always talk about action as seeing it basically for every actionable step you take forward, no matter how big or how small it is, you actually get a reward. And that reward is confidence. So you basically just confirmed that what I'm telling people is actually the truth. I'm not making this stuff up. But it's so true, because as soon as you start thinking about you are going to get a reward as soon as you take an actionable step, well, it makes it so much easier to take that step. And the smallest, even the smallest of steps, you get a reward, and that reward is confidence. And the more steps you take, the more that confidence build up. And then later on, you can take leaps, which means you're going to get rewarded with more confidence. So that's kind of what I always tell my clients. So I'm so glad to hear your side of it as well, because that just confirms what I always, tell my audience and my clients. And I think, leading from that, we also talk about confidence in communication, because it's up here. Now you're taking the action, but communicating it is equally as important. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. I think, and I know from personal experience, working in the corporate world in my previous life, being in that environment, it calls on you every single day to be confident, because it really is survival of the fittest. If anybody has ever worked in kind of that corporate environment, it's this idea that you have to step up, you have to speak up, you have to be seen, you have to show up like you are in control, you know what you're talking about, and you want people to pay attention to you.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not going to happen if you talk like this.
Mm-hmm.
You have to show your confidence so that others believe that you can be a leader. Like, I hear her voice. I hear her tone. I hear how she speaks. I hear how she articulates her words. And then it's about clarity. when you're speaking to someone, be clear about the task at hand. I used to work on a lot of teams and manage groups. And when you're talking, especially when you're talking about a group project or group think or group work, you want to be clear and precise about the goals that you're trying to accomplish as a team, about the task, about the mission statement of whatever it is you're leading. You want people to be clear about where you stand, what you believe, and how you're going to move forward. And people, when you have confidence in your voice, your tone, your inflection, they can feel that.
Yes.
And they then in turn have confidence in you. So when I talk about confident communication, it can be written communication, it can be verbal communication, and it's also body language. Mm-hmm. It's how your body shows up when you're standing. I am also a speaker. I do speaking engagements. When you see speakers on stage, they don't do like this. They don't crawl down and push their shoulders down. They stand up, their shoulders are high, their head is high, they're looking, you feel like they're looking right in your eyes. They do that for a reason, and they practice it because they want to come off on stage as the authority. Mm-hmm. I want people to pay attention to what I'm saying. So not only am my words saying certain things, I'm articulating and I'm punctuating certain words, and I'm standing in authority. So it's a whole aspect of how you show your communication to someone else. So yes. Confidence is built that way, also in your communication.
And I love the fact that when you show up, when you have that kind of communication, whether, like you say, you're on stage, I do public speaking as well. So when you said it, I was like, I know exactly what you mean. But it's all about that energy that you're portraying through your confidence, because the audience would feel that energy. They would see you, they would hear you, but also that energy is so powerful. And if you can portray that energy of confidence, you've got people's attention immediately, and Absolutely. They gravitate to you. You build that relationship with your client much quicker. And yeah, it's something that you've got to practice. It doesn't happen overnight, but you have to practice it with the intention of becoming more confident.
Absolutely. And one thing that I tell women, we speak so much about leadership, of course, in a workplace, of course, in your business, but leadership in your home, leadership with your family. So when I talk about confident communication, it doesn't just have to be in the workplace. You can take that and transfer it to other parts of your life. When you are speaking to your significant other, when you are speaking to your children, they can tell the difference between mom being serious and mom just kidding, right? Yes. So like you said, practice it, but don't just practice it in your workplace. Practice it in all aspects of your life, and people will respond to you differently. I absolutely agree.
So how can women then project confidence? Because obviously we're talking now about the body language, we're talking about communicating, but how can women project confidence?
So I always ask my clients, I say, what is your mission statement? What does your brand say about you? And I am not a business coach. And Tiffiny, people are like, Tiffiny, what are you talking about? My brand? I don't have a business. What are you talking? And I say, no, you do have a business. You have the business of yourself. Mm-hmm. You are the CEO of your life. Every time you step out the door, you're representing you. And if you're, have a spouse or a life partner, you're representing them. So again, I ask you, what is the mission statement of your brand? What is your brand saying? And so when they look at it like that, they're like, wow, I never thought about it. And it takes them a minute because it catches them off guard. But once they really are able to see that they are their own brand, and every time they step out, they're representing themselves to the world. So when you project yourself to the world, the question then becomes, how do you want to be seen in the world? Like physically seen. I tell women, take a look at the mirror. Are you happy with what you see? And I'm not trying to sway women one way or the other as far as, style or hair or anything like that. But the question is, are you happy with the way you physically look? Because if you're not happy with the way you physically look, and you're not comfortable in your clothes, and you're not comfortable with whatever your style is, then that projects out to the world. Mm. That is what the world will then take in as your branding. So whatever your branding is, and it can be different, I'm not trying to define someone's brand, but choose it. If you want to get your hair done, if you feel like you need a cut, go get a cut. If you need to, get your eyes checked, if you haven't been to the doctor in a while, get a physical. I even tell women, how is your health? Do you feel comfortable with your body? Do you feel like you need to do a better job with your health? Work on that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about every aspect of you projecting this sense of pride. I even talk about to my clients, how does your house look? And they'll say to me, what do you mean, husband? I'm like, is it clean? And they're like,
I know a lot of women would go like, do I have to answer that question?
Really? Are you asking me that? And I'm like, well, how do you feel about that? And they're like, it kind of makes me feel disorganized. And so I say, well, if there's a part of you that feels disorganized, you're wearing that when you walk out the door.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems so small, but it's really not. These are the tiny little ways that we can clean up our lives and clean up ourselves to project ourselves, to feel good, to feel that pride and that dignity about ourselves. And that's what we project to the world. So that is my take when I talk about this idea of confident projection. Look at every aspect of your life. And if you're not happy with it, work on it, because that's going to build up that belief in yourself and that pride. And that's what you show to the world.
My gosh, you know what, as you're saying that, I'm actually laughing because silly example, but I'm going to share it with everybody now. Being very transparent, my office was a mess last week, okay? Honestly, I was ashamed of it. I haven't dusted in a while. I haven't hoovered the carpet in a while. There were papers scattered everywhere, personal, business. I've had about 20 hand creams here on my desk, glasses, coffee mugs. It was a mess. So I am being very honest and transparent because I was so busy, I did not concentrate on even, pushing my chair in at the end of the day when I was done. But at one point, I think it was on Sunday, actually, I came in and I just looked at my office. I was like, oh my gosh, look at this mess. And it is so true what you were saying, because then I realized that even though I was doing video recordings and all those kind of things, but I was sitting within this mess, which made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. And I felt it when I was, online and I was speaking to people. They didn't know what was going on around me, but I felt it. And immediately I cleaned and I dusted and I hoovered and I got everything sorted. And you know what? Since walking in the beginning of the week, doing more videos, doing more podcast recordings, lives, I'm just like, this is great. I'm feeling so organized. I'm feeling everything is like pristine and ready to go. But in a nutshell, basically, to what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense, because you portray basically what's going on in the background. A lot of people don't know what's going on in the background, but your energy is there and you portray it.
Yes, absolutely. I love how you said your energy. It's all energy. It's all, like you said, what you portray is so important. What people feel from you. That's really what you're projecting. It's your energy. And I also tell women when I talk about confident projection, really when you're working on those things, it's a form of self-care.
Yes.
So you're still just pouring into you more and more and more.
Yeah. And I had to clean my office, whether I liked it or not, but I had to. But again, I felt so good when it was done. I felt in control and I felt like, you know what, bring on this week. I am ready for it. And I think, in some aspects, we kind of forget that it's those small kind of things in and around our environments that counts as to how we portray confidence as well. So I'm so glad you brought that up.
Thank you. Yes.
So we're talking about confidence and, different kinds of confidence, but also talk to us about how to build more confidence, because I know we're talking about the different kinds of confidence and we've given some tips here. But as somebody who's just like, okay, I want more confidence, but how do I build that? What kind of advice can you give them?
Well, I would say first, like we talked about in every aspect of those, start with the mindset first. Everything begins in the mind. How do you see yourself? So I would say start building practices that delve into who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, mindfulness is a big practice. It's this idea of being completely self-aware. And there's so many different mindfulness practices. You know, you can have meditation, you have yoga, you have deep breathing. Some people do, I love this idea of forest bathing, you know, going into the forest and going for a walk, taking your shoes off and letting your feet touch the grass. So getting really grounded, really centered in your now. I love giving gratitude every single day. I journal and I write down my gratitude statements. I say some affirmations to build up my belief in myself. I am a winner. I love myself. I'm proud of myself. And then I kind of write down my intentions for my day. How do I want this day to go? Because whatever I believe will happen, whatever I think will happen. I am a firm believer. Whatever is in our mind becomes our reality.
Mm-hmm.
So that is just some small tips, but the idea is this idea of mindfulness, being fully aware of who you are. And as you start to dig more into becoming fully aware of who you are through journaling, through, you know, meditation, or some of those tips that I gave, you start to recognize things that bring you joy.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I tell every woman that I coach, when you can recognize what makes you happy and you start going in the direction of that, it almost feeds off of itself, because your confidence is built up because you're doing something that you actually want to do. And again, that's part of that behavior. It's like, okay, I've been, you know, meditating, I've been journaling, I'm starting to get very connected to myself. I'm starting to have ideas I've never had before. I think I'm going to take the action now. I'm going to step into that behavior. I'm going to call that person, or I'm going to connect with that coach, and I'm going to take the action step. And again, we talk about taking action. So you take that first action step and you build up that momentum, and you take another action step and another action step. And then as you're doing that and you're kind of writing it down and you're keeping notes, we talk about confident projection, start getting very organized. Get in a routine. Every single week, you're doing one simple thing towards your personal development, of building up your confidence. If you're saying, you know, Tiffiny, I want to have a business, well, you need to start reading business books. You need to start attending business networking groups. You need to start connecting with people that are in business. You need to start learning. Put that on your agenda every single week. So it's things like that that you can do to immediately immediately build up your confidence. It starts in the mind, doing those mindful activities, getting deep into your self-awareness. And then as you start to get deep into your self-awareness, start making a list of the things that you enjoy, the list of things that you want to do. And as you start, pick one thing from that list and take action on it. And that's something we can all do immediately. So that's what I would say.
Oh my goodness, you've actually said it so well, and you've explained it so clearly. And I hope for you listening or watching this video, you're making some clear notes for yourself, or just rewind and watch it again. Why did I say rewind? It's like we're using a VHS here. Yeah, just start the video again, and you know, just make some clear notes, because what Tiffiny is saying is so valuable. And any woman, any person can honestly take this and apply it into their own lives, whether in business, in personal, whether you want to excel in your career, you know, even in a relationship. You can honestly use all of this in any aspects of your life. Tiffiny, thank you so much. I really appreciate the fact that you've just shared everything here with us. Now, before we conclude with everything, you have got an amazing mini course for the audience in order to help them build their self-confidence. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the mini course?
Absolutely. Thanks, Hen. The mini course is basically everything that we talked about here. It goes through those 5 aspects of confident mindset, confident behavior, confident communication, confident projection, and also confidence in your career or life path. And so each of those sections of the course has a video. It's all self-paced. I intentionally made it 30 minutes or less because, again, most of the women I work with are extremely busy. They have lives. They cannot be working on self-development all day. So it's totally self-paced. It comes with the workbook. You also have transcripts of the video. And the idea of this course, I really wanted to create something that women could do on their own. They didn't necessarily have to have a coach right there with them, but they can kind of start doing things to slowly build up their mindset, deep into self-awareness, deep into their belief system, start to write out their goals and their intentions of where they want to go moving forward with their life. And then this idea of, how do I actually take action? And what are some of the things I need to take action on? Do I need to take action on my health? Do I need to take action in my career? Do I need to take action in my relationship? So some of those things I talk about in the course and really help them to open up and start writing out. There's a lot of activities in the course to write out some things that they're ready to change in their behavior. And then from there, confident communication. I actually give a lot of tips to women, as well as video, of how you want to confidently communicate, be clear and precise. Let's talk about the tone of your voice. What does tone and pitch and inflection, what does that mean? And then also body language. How do you communicate your body language? And that's also in the video. Then we talk about this idea of projection, kind of like what we talked about today. How does your environment project who you are? What is your brand? What does that mean? What is your mission statement for your life? How do you see yourself visually? How do you feel about yourself? What is it that your energy is telling the world? So we really get deep in the details of that. And lastly, we talk about confidence in career and life path to figure out, is the career that you're in really aligned with your values and your goals? And if they're not, how do we get you to a space where you're in a situation where you can find something that aligns with your values and your goals? So I dig on that a little bit. So those are the things that I talk about in this course. Again, it's totally self-paced. You can literally do it in 5 days or 5 weeks or 5 months, completely up to you. And it's going to be on an early bird special the first 14 days. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. And I gave you all of my information. The links are connected to my main website, which is cccwomen'sempowerment.com.
Amazing. And for those of you listening and watching this video, obviously that free mini course, you can find the link below in my show notes. So that will take you directly there. And if you want to know more from Tiffiny, if you resonated with what she said and you have some additional questions, you want to contact her, by all means, stalk her on her social profiles. That'll be there as well. And her website is also available in the show notes. So please feel free to make contact with Tiffiny. Tiffiny, thank you again from the bottom of my heart, talking about a subject that I'm just as passionate about. And it was so great to have this conversation and bounce ideas off each other, which I can just feel the energy is so vibrant. And I hope the audience picked up on that as well. But yes, thank you so much for being here and sharing your expertise with everyone. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Hen. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and I enjoyed it too. I could talk about this all day.
I know. Same here. But listen, we're gonna stay in touch, and we're gonna be in contact fairly soon again. So thank you again.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
Bye bye.